So it's not going to be a death by PowerPoint. I just want to kind of use these as prompts as myself as a reminder of what I was talking about and why, just so it gives it some type of order. But obviously, generative AI, for those that don't know, I'm sure most people do, it creates synthetic content, images, text, audio, based on pattern learning that's been actually uploaded to it previously. Benefits for business, obviously you can automate some of those manual tasks within a company. So it allows you to be a lot more streamlined and a lot more productive. Later on to the next one, it obviously increases productivity, but it also allows you to give a better customer experience as well, because we all live in a world now where we want things to happen like that, next day delivery, same day delivery sometimes from Amazon. So, we use and because we've come expecting instant things to happen. So being able to give instant feedback, instant responses is what customers are looking for as well. So it helps increase that customer experience, again, as long as it's being used properly, and it worked really well. So my journey in generative AI started in 2019. So I founded Semperpratus Group, which is a sales automation company. And back in 2019, I was looking for AI to automate the manual tasks within the sales process, therefore making me more productive in my workplace, allowed me to close more deals rather than having to spend the time nurturing them. And in my case, it allowed me then to spend more time enjoying time with the family as well. However, the reality was that despite AI being hyped up, the technology wasn't there. It was a mediocre, one-dimensional SQL service that had very limitations. It was limited to what it was told to do at the start, and it didn't think outside the box. So all I had to do, or what I had to do, I should say, is I had to kind of take 4 or 5 different platforms and hold them together with bits of digital sticky tape. So an API connecting all the products up in order to automate the process to get me, I would say, I thought I was probably 90% of the way there. Realistically, I was probably about 60 to 70% of the way there on how I wanted it to work. However, in November 2022, just as we were coming out of the pandemic, a good client of mine in New York, Stan Pearson, he told me about a product called ChatGPT, and he said, Phil, you're going to love it. It's right up your street. It's exactly the type of thing you like. And he told me what it was, and he said it was AI. And because of previous experiences of trying AI before and it just not working, I pretty much dismissed it straight away. I said, yeah, I'll look at it later, Stan, and didn't look at it at all. We then had Christmas, so we fast forward into January 2023, and I started hearing chatter about this thing called ChatGPT, and it rang a bell in my mind, and I couldn't think from where. So I checked the notes from the conversation with Stan, and obviously it was what Stan had told me about almost 3 months previously. So I got really excited about it. I asked it to create some content, because that's what I was looking for AI to do, create the content for my website and for my LinkedIn posts. And it created 2 pages in about 5 seconds. And I thought, brilliant, technology's called it what I wanted. But then when I read the content, even though there was lots of it there, and there was some good stuff in it, it didn't flow logically. It was jumping all over the place, and nothing flowed from one paragraph to the next. So you still had to go in and piece it back together. However, in the last definitely 6 months, maybe a little bit longer, but in the last 6 months, ChatGPT has changed and come on so much. I know there's other generative AIs out there, but let's face it, at the end of the day, ChatGPT is the mainstream one that most people are using. But yeah, it's come on so much. But not only has ChatGPT come on leaps and bounds in the last 6 to 12 months, but more so is our understanding of how to create prompts, create the correct prompts to get the most out of ChatGPT. And not just get the most out of it, but finesse those prompts to get the most out of it first time. And for those of you who joined the webinar today, what I'm going to do at the end is I'm going to show you a bot that I've created, a GPT that I've created, and I'll share the link with that so you can go and use it yourself. And this is creating for me 104 SEO ready, readable posts for me. And the reason that 104 is an important number for me is I want to do 2 posts a week on my website. So 2 posts a week over 52 weeks is 104 posts. So in literally, I would say 30 to 40 minutes, I've got 104 SEO ready posts with the keywords rotated, so not cannibalizing themselves in the content in literally 30 minutes time. I'm going to show you how I do that and share that bot with you as well. So quick question, if you could show me as a in the chat, so just share the screen so you can see where the chat is, in case you're not familiar with it. So you can have a speech bubble at the bottom right hand side. If you click on there, and just within a chat, if you can just show me with a 1 if you're using AI within your business at the moment, and a 2 if you're not. So mainly ones in there. Okay, so for those that are using it, could you just let me know in just a few simple words? I need a paragraph or a sentence of you, just in a few simple words, what you're actually doing within ChatGPT, or sorry, within AI to actually automate within a business. Same as me, Olga. Okay, so nice to see you. There's actually quite an array of things in there. So it's actually, I was expecting everyone to use it for pretty much the same thing, but there's loads of different things in there. Archie for coding, Joseph initial data, tender support. Okay, yeah, loads of different things, which is unsurprising, but they're all different, which is great as well. So hopefully, as I said, with us all using it in different ways, we should be able to get a really good spread when we start doing some knowledge sharing of how we're doing it as we go through the call. So let me share my screen again. So in terms of our armies, I just want to, we've got loads of examples from you. I just want to give some examples here as well. I've got other ones that I've actually written down because, as we just found out then, there are so many different ways to use AI within not just a business, but also personal life as well. I've used it for creating robust and firm complaints, which have been upheld to my utilities company. I've used it for all types of things. Content creation, obviously one that I mentioned before, I saw it pop up before as well. So creating content is really key. But creating good content is obviously what we're looking for, and the bot that I've created does that as well. Education, so we're potentially looking at going traveling sometime next year, maybe taking 6 or 12 months out to go traveling. For those that are working with me, don't worry, I'll still have my laptop with me, can work with that from anywhere. But for my daughter, what we didn't want to do is her education to suffer. So what I was able to do is download the national curriculum for primary schools for England and Wales, and then get ChatGPT to create a 12-week lesson plan targeted for my daughter being able to get into King's School when she goes into high school. And it was able to do that for me as well and create a lesson plan. I know teachers already are using ChatGPT to create lesson plans, and why not? They only get 8 weeks holiday over the summer, so they need to make their lives a little bit easier. I've used it as an award, so I've used ChatGPT to actually create award applications for me, and I've actually become finalist for these awards as well. So there's one at the moment. I'm the finalist for the Great British Entrepreneur in the AI sector for an award, and I actually got ChatGPT to create that application for me. I have created, as some of you will know, I've actually launched a podcast. I came up with the idea 2.5 weeks ago. It went live 2 weeks ago. I had a holiday last week, but we've already got podcasts filled up for October. We have to come and go live full in November, and we're now actually taking people on and actually filling up December as well. So you can actually create a podcast within ChatGPT and with AI as well. And also property. I've got a property business. I had ChatGPT. I downloaded the property planning and the different strategies for properties, and I loaded the layout of a house I was looking at buying, and ChatGPT came up with the best and most profitable strategy for me based on the size and location of the house. So as you can see, you can literally use it for anything, and the more people are starting to use it, the more it understands things, the more we're going to be able to use it for moving forwards. So within my business, obviously Semper Process Group is the core business. It's an automated lead generation and sales process, and that is powered by AI as well. So what the AI does within SVG's process now is it can go out to your LinkedIn profile. It can use the persona information to find your ideal customers. It will bring those through. It will create a complex omnichannel workflow of both LinkedIn and email. It will create the message templates based on the specific audience personas you're reaching out to. So there'll be different wording for an accountant, based on different wording for a salesperson, based on different wording for a doctor, for example. So it creates those personalized messages, and then it sends the automation. It automatically sends a message out to that target audience. And when they respond back, it then can also use the sentiment analysis that will work out whether it's a good, neutral, or negative type of response, and then it will create the next logical message to that person to nurture them through the process. So if someone comes back saying, no, thanks, not interested, they'll just ignore it. It will actually pick up and say, ask why they're not interested. If they say they've been on holiday, they'll say, hope you had a great time away. No rushing coming back to us. Here's a link to a diary. Book a time as ever convenient to you. So AI is now massively plugged into the platform. And this circles back to what I said at the start about 2019, where the technology wasn't there. My vision for the business was a plug and play solution where you could tell it what you wanted to do and it would go out and do it for you. However, as I touched on before, the technology just wasn't there when I set my business up 6 years ago. Now, though, the technology is caught up with my vision, and I've actually now got the plug and play solution that I wanted 6 years ago, and removing all of that digital sticky tape holding it together. Within my meetings, I use Read AI. So there's lots of that there, Otter, many of the ones out there as well. But what Read AI does is it takes notes of the minutes in the meeting, and it can also record the meeting as well. At the end of the meeting, it sends me and the client, or the prospect, I should say, notes over as well. So we both know where the action points are. We both know what to get out of the meeting. For sales, that's really good for me because I used to have to do a follow-up email, or I add it in my CRM, so it's kind of just clicking a button or transfer them to a different funnel. But this just allows an automated follow-up with some tangible action points on what the next steps are going to be. So if you have to ask the client to confirm what they expect next steps to be moving forwards when you're looking to close a deal, and they tell you what they expect the next steps to be, then they're actually almost agreeing to what we want them to do, and the AI then sends out the notes confirming that. Beautiful AI, this is actually what I created the slides in today. So I just basically gave it some, I asked ChatGPT to come up with what I should talk about, came up with some topics. I fed that into Beautiful AI, and it came up with the slide deck that you're looking at today. I just need to go in and tweak it and play around with it. But Beautiful AI creates very quickly a slide deck based on what you're looking to do, and it puts the right word in there as well. And playground.com. So this ties in to what I was talking about before for the content. So creating content is one thing we've got ChatGPT to do really well, but then getting images is obviously another thing you need to do as well. Now, if you're doing 2 posts a week or more, and you're using lots of images from many places you can buy images from, it becomes quite an expensive task. So what I've got Playground to do is I just simply, and this is on the free version, I find an image that on Google that kind of explains what it is my content will be talking about, and then I take that image, drop it to Playground, and it creates a version of that for me, a completely royalty-free version that I can actually use on all of my content without having to pay for it. So again, it's just another nice way of actually getting free images as well. And some of the images it's created for me were actually far better and far clearer than the originals that I started with. So, when I spoke before about lots of different things in there. So, in no particular order, just because Archie's at the top there. Archie, can I just throw it over to you? Can you just tell me a little bit more about what you're doing in terms of coding? Because I jumped out at me.
Yeah, hi. So, just like you, I head up the sales section of a marketing agency called Staunton Rugg. So, everybody knows that they can use it for like a communication tool, as well as research, putting together proposals and like problem solving. But about 2 years ago, we started using it for software development, issue solving, basically. So if we had a problem with a piece of software when we were building a website or an app, you could plug in the issue and the errors that you were receiving, and it would help you fix the code in there. About 3 months ago, we managed to get it. We started a project where, with a decent understanding of coding and understanding of how to code an app, it can talk you through the whole process of building an app in Swift, which is iOS's language, to the point where our marketing assistant, who's got no experience in coding, can build an app and deploy it to an iPhone within the space of like 2-3 days. Wow. So it is literally a case of, she said, right, I want to make an app that was a chessboard, and she can use ChatGPT in one thread, explain with the correct prompts her understanding and engagement level, and then it teaches her as she goes along how the basics of coding, the basics of Swift language, but then also gives her the code in response to the screens that she wants to create. So, I mean, from a software development, website development, and coding perspective, it's something that's not spoke about as much as it probably is for content generation and things like that.
Yeah.
And off the back of that, we now have, obviously, we have to write a lot of content for clients, from blog posts to social posts, but also website building themselves. We've now been able to create a front-end page. ChatGPT has coded for us a back-end page of our website where our team can access, upload documentation about a client, brand guidelines, brochures, anything like that. It'll then extract that tone of voice and brand guidelines, and then we can use that and interact with that profile and say, can you please create me content for a page that needs to be optimized for HR excellence in Chester? So you're then using their tone of voice and their language and everything about the business to write website pages, content, social posts, and blog posts. Your beauty with that is that you can then go back into that every time without having to find a chat from a month ago in your ChatGPT. You have your customer profiles as such, and it's with a storage function that doesn't come with ChatGPT. We've had to build. It remembers all of those conversations, so it's great.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, the key thing there is that that's you answer the questions to ask is how much technical experience do you need to start using that? But as you said, then got people using it have got no technical experience.
So ChatGPT 3, you couldn't do any coding except from decoding, or you'd have to have a really good understanding of it. ChatGPT 4.0 is brought out with Canvas, which is a separate section which now supports better learning with coding. So that you can literally go in now and say, I have zero experience with Swift, which is the coding language of iOS, for example. I want to create this app, talk me through the process, and it will talk you through from A to Z. So yeah, it's amazing.
Amazing. Charlie, I know we spoke yesterday, but you just want to kind of give an overview of what you're doing. And just while Charlie's speaking, I don't want to put everyone on the spot and just assume everyone wants to talk. Some people might not want to talk. So if anyone does want to, give it some examples of what they're using, just stick a 1 in the chat box. We'll make sure we circle back to when Charlie's finished.
Yeah, hi everybody. So I, very similarly to Archie, I work as a fractional CMO for small businesses. And I'll give you this one example because I'm in the same kind of similar boat as everybody. I do use it for lots and lots of different things, but I know this proved incredibly valuable to the business. So when I manage this website, which gets about 200,000 hits per month, and they've got 15 different guidebooks that all have a 40% offer as the thank you page to each of these guidebooks. Now, that's what that means is there's a lot of data that is then getting spit out of Google Analytics. And what we wanted to determine was over the last 12 months, which out of the guidebooks had the best conversion ratio, what actually had the best amount of revenue per hit, so that rather than over the next 12 months trying to market all 15 guidebooks, we actually focus what's our top 3 that should be taking our energy and be repeatedly used throughout our social media content, out of our advertising, and so forth. How are we going to be far more strategic in our resources? Because this is only a small business. It's about 1.2 million per year. It can't do everything. So
it's a good point that you raised there. A lot of people don't know that data crunching on ChatGPT is massive. And it's you don't need to use spreadsheets anymore. You can take a screenshot of a formula on your computer and upload that straight into ChatGPT, and then straight away it'll solve all your problems for you. Or you upload, like you've said, thousands and thousands of lines of Excel file and ask it a question to identify, and it'll do it straight away.
Exactly. So not only did we find out which of the guidebooks was actually the best revenue generating, not the one that made us the most money that last year, what was actually the best generating, what pages converted the best, what was the best sources in order to generate those leads in the future. And suddenly now we had 5 actions that we could focus on for the next 90 days. Now, I've done it in the past, 12 months ago, and it took half a day to do. Through me then just being able to do these prompts, like said Archie, then we got it down to half an hour as I was doing it live with the CEO, and he was loving it because then, as CEOs, they were getting ideas of we could do this, but his ideas were then really focused as well, and we can repeat that far more quickly over 90 days.
Did you do that, Charlie? Did you do that just by putting the link to the website in?
No, so in the background, we've got Google Analytics. So we're basically pulling out how many hits were we getting on the actual guidebook page? How many hits were we then getting on the thank you page? What was that adjacent to our revenue? What was the conversion ratio of from the page performance to then the revenue performance? So we were able to break down quite a few different analysis from that.
So cool.
Excellent.
I would say it was a very geek move. You get so happy when stuff like that works.
Yeah. The only other thing that I don't know whether it would be valuable, I don't use it a lot at all, but I work in BD, business development sales, and if we're looking at pitches or speaking to new clients for the first time, I'll pop in the company website, their LinkedIn profile, and ask for a few key salient points for discussion, and things like, we work in pharmaceuticals, me and Matthew at the top there, and it's like understanding where the key issues are for launching a new product in a new therapy area and all that kind of stuff to help with some of that research and open calls and have really on topic points to raise with a client. But I hardly use it at all really compared to you guys.
So Charlie, we said obviously then about the CEO getting excited as well. I think we should create a support group, because no one gets as excited as me when I'm geeking out on what I've done on ChatGPT. My wife's sick of me. She's banished me to the office now, so I'm not allowed to talk ChatGPT. Even my little girl's getting bored of it. So, Errol, I know you wrote a message in the chat then. Do you want to just jump on and ask that question? I'm assuming it's potentially probably aimed at Archie, because it's all about coding.
I can see it if he.
Yeah, go on. Yeah, just in case he's on shower, he's on mute.
So there isn't. I mean, you can use Gemini and you can use the other tools. I am ChatGPT through and through because it's what I've started with, and I feel like it's like Apple or Google. You kind of just pick one and you run with it.
Yeah.
There are lots of tools depending upon what your skill level is that integrate with OpenAI. So if you are coding directly in, if you're directly coding in Terminal in your Mac, you can get a GitHub Copilot. So you can integrate an OpenAI generative speech format, which links to your account, which you can have in your text editor itself. So there isn't like a terminal like ChatGPT, front end that's, I would say, that I'm aware of that's better for coding, but you can use OpenAI's API integration in different areas of coding, such as when you're editing text and things like that. Best thing to do though is if you just if you chat is there any better ones? It'll probably point you in the right direction, but I've never done that.
Okay, thanks for that, actually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of just go in and show you. I mean, you just touched it then when you said Google. I use ChatGPT now for everything. I use it for shopping. So we've got a coal burning fire at home, a multi-burning fire. I've got my coal sheet from ChatGPT. I book hotels through ChatGPT, and I use it for absolutely everything. I think Google now, even though you've got Gemini out there, I think as you said, and Archie hit the nail right on the head. You're either an Apple or you're an Android, and you choose one or the other and you go with it. And I think because ChatGPT was first to market, it's the one everyone's known and heard about. It can be the one that everyone talks about. Let's start talking about something without sharing my screen. Give me one moment to share my screen again. I'll just pick up any other questions that might be at the end. So I just want to go through. I just want to give some examples. Really, just what I've used it over the last couple of days. So, as I said, I created the slide deck, got the topic through ChatGPT, dropped them into Beautiful AI with a bit of content in there, and then just went and polished it, and it created the slide deck for me. But what I did today is when I was getting my meetings notes ready, not have looked at them at all today, I was getting the meeting notes ready. I took screenshots of every single slide. I'm sure there's a more attractive way of doing this, but I took screenshots of every single slide, upload it, and then asked it from the slide notes using the oldest one, slide 1, the most recent, slide 6, create the meeting notes for me. And it created those meeting notes for me as well, so I just had to print that off, had them next to me, just in case you had a technical issue and nothing works at all, and I just had to talk through things rather than actually using the slide decks as a reference. I've got a podcast that I created early on this morning. So again, this was just creating in less than 100 words, in less than 200 words, what the actual intro for the podcast should be. I've got, I need to get the hex code for Spotify's logo so I can actually use it on some of my videos, and it told me what the hex code was so I could make sure that the Spotify podcast matched up with the Spotify video just to keep everything branded. I've used it for pet insurance. I've used it for, I don't even know what that one is. Business overview. So yeah, just overviews of businesses. So I'd take a long document or PDFs and it'll just actually create then a concise overview of what the business is, what the strengths are, what the weaknesses are. But I literally take hundreds of hours, now that's a lie, definitely hours and hours of reading per customer. When I look at the podcast, I put it into here and it breaks it down into something I can read in less than 5 minutes. So as I said, loads and loads of things you can use it for. As promised, I'm going to show you how the Postbot works as well. So I will share this GPT with you after this call as a thank you for actually attending today and kind of sharing the type of things you're using it for. But what it's going to do is it's going to create blog posts for me. So I won't make it too difficult. I want it to create 5 blog posts of about 1,000 words. I've got the zeros, try again. 1,000 words on creating a book about sales in 2025. Now, in hindsight, I probably should have chosen something it's going to work on. So let's just see if this works. ChatGPT doesn't work at the moment. A good advert for it.
Phil, have you got a bit of a crib sheet on prompts? Because this is all really interesting, but I'll be honest with you, I haven't got a bloody clue what I
no, that's a very good point actually.
do to get to where these people are. Like, you know, how do you, I don't even know, I wouldn't even know where to start with prompts.
That's a good question. Put a pin in it, I'll come back to it in a minute if I've had this conversation with people before. This is always what happens when you've got a video meeting running with 40-odd people on it and nothing wants to work when you want it to.
While Phil's doing that, though, I'm getting my partner into it at the moment, and she's just never used it. And the best way of doing it is when you talk to it, people think they can just treat it like Google, where they put Hotel Germany and expect it to understand where you want. The best way to get the best responses out of it is to treat it as if it was a child. So the more you put into it and the more you explain what you're looking for, the better the results are. So, and that's the problem, is Google now has flipped it for 10 years on its head, where you don't put much text into your certain things. Whereas if you want a refined response and a better outcome from what you're looking for, it's better to almost ask for what the outcome is and what you're looking for in that phrase.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I promise it does work. It's just not working for me. I'm going to show you. But what I've done within basically what I've done within the prompt here is I've done all that hard work. I finessed that prompt at the very start. So not only does it create content, but it will then it'll create the right keywords and it will create the right meta descriptions to actually use it. So 99% of the time when I've uploaded the content to my website, I use Yoast. I've had a minimum as an amber on SEO and a green on readability, but normally with a bit of tweaking in there, I'll get green and green. So it'll be both SEO ready and also readable for Google as well. But it does work, I promise. It does work really well. Which, just as a lead on what you just said then, Sophie, about the prompts, as Archie said then, it's all about telling ChatGPT what it is. So I always start with, you're the world's leading expert in whatever I want it to do. And then just the more information you can give it, the better the output will be first time rather than second time. But again, it's all about, and this is what I said before, it's about our learning of how to use it. It's all about learning exactly what to put in those prompts. So it isn't unusual for me to ask it 10 times when I'm doing something new. Ask it 10 times before I've got the actual version I think is bulletproof and exactly what I'm looking for. But what you're able to do then is see what you needed to do differently those other 10 prompts. And then when you create it the next time, you'll know exactly what you're asking it and they'll get it right the first time. But also as well, something that came in, I'm going to say 3 months ago, Archie might correct me on this, is it's got memory there as well now. So it actually remembers things. So 12 months ago, if I said, tell me all you know about Semper Paratus Group, people wouldn't know who Semper Paratus Group was. But because I've done so much in there now in terms of creating content, it can give me a really detailed list about who Semper Paratus Group is, etc., etc.
And you also now have, sorry to interject there, Phil, as well, which a lot of people don't know about in GPT, is you can tell it custom instructions. So if you're like me and you don't write any emails ever, and you always get ChatGPT to respond to emails, you can tell it that your name is Archie Thompson, you work at Staunton Ruck Marketing, your position is a sales director or whatever that is. So when it pops out your responses for you, it'll always remember that information that you told it across all the different chats. And on that, a big thing that happens as well is every time they push a new update out, no one knows what's relevant for them in the update, because some people use it for coding and some people use it for different things.
Yeah.
You ask ChatGPT now, can you summarize what I use ChatGPT for the most? It will now come back to you and tell you that you use it 23% for coding, 36% for content creation, whatever that is. And if you then follow up with that question and say, with the most recent update, what is relevant to me and how I use it, it will then kick out all the key points that are relevant to how you use ChatGPT, because they release a new update all the time and no one has any idea what's new with it unless you spend hours and hours reading and researching.
Yeah.
So it's a trick to skip through it.
And the other thing I was going to follow on from Archie as well, it's kind of a similar, because it's always learning all the time. What I've done with one client is I designated a ChatGPT just for that client. And what I've done is I sent the CEO does a lot of videos, and I got all of his transcripts from the videos and just put them, as many of them as possible, through ChatGPT. And that has then created the brand voice. And because I've sent thousands and thousands of so much data at it, you just ask anything from it to say, hey, can you just write this title like the brand voice? And it will do it straight away, because it's just absorbed all of this material as well. It takes some time, but once you've thrown a lot at it, it's well worth it in the long run.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you, sorry, go on, Marla.
The only thing I would add, and I'm calling from California, is that the one prompt that has helped me is when you're doing something and yes, ChatGPT can do it in your voice, but what I've done is say, hey, can you make this paragraph more human?
Yeah.
You do that, like add that into the paragraph, or what you're doing, then it really, they look at, okay, here's your content of what you've done in the past, and here's an example. And then you can tweak that a little bit. The other thing I would say is that it's for a campaign I worked on, it was, like you guys said, you have different, sections for clients, et cetera, in ChatGPT. I asked it to do smaller pieces. And then you, at the end, take all those pieces that you asked ChatGPT, and then you're like, okay, now make it into one slide, or make this into a white paper, or whatever you want it to do. Yeah. So that's been helpful for me.
Yeah, that's a reminder, actually, Marla, that I use it. Every single thing I write, emails, notes, posts, I always ask ChatGPT, start with polish this for me, and I put the message in there, and it comes up with a much better worded version of what I was trying to say. So, go on.
Sorry, just a little tidbit. A friend of mine works there, and she does PR for them, and she said that one of her colleagues one day said to her, she goes, why don't you just use ChatGPT to write our press release and so she would write everything, by hand first. And she was like, oh my God, I'm not even using technology, because she was afraid that, anything she was doing, would, not be in her voice. And she's like, oh my God. And so she started to do that. But I thought that was kind of funny, of the things that they're going through and developing and doing different things. I just thought you guys would get a kick out of that.
Definitely did. I mean, that's the key thing as well, isn't it? I've viewed ChatGPT, and I've been saying this now for over 12 months, as the biggest change in the workplace since the Industrial Revolution. So in the Industrial Revolution, machines took over the jobs of the manual worker, the labourer, and that's all that's happening now to the office workers. These prompts to the AI is going to start taking those jobs away. But we either embrace it and use it to our advantage to make our lives easier, so we can do more of the things we want to do, or close more deals, spend more time with the family, which is obviously my driver, or we just put our heads in it, and I'm definitely not one of those. You put your head in the sand, you hope it's going to go away, but it's not going to go away. It's here to stay. It's grown massively in 12 months, so God knows what it's going to be like in 2 years' time. But I think that to the people on this call are forward-thinking people, the people actually using ChatGPT, they're using AI, they understand the benefits of it, and they're not going to get left behind. So well done for you guys for actually embracing it anyway and not being scared of actually jumping all over it. Is there any other questions from anyone? Jump on the chat or shout up.
Paul's asked a question actually of Charlie, and I'm interested to know this as well. You mentioned with the separate sections for each client. Do you do that on the free version? Is that the
this is Paul. Can I jump in as well? Because
of course, it was your question.
yeah, when you put stuff into ChatGPT on the public version, it goes into the public domain. And so if you type in what is JP Morgan's investment strategy, you'll get an answer because somebody's somewhere in the past was stupid enough to upload that document and get a summary of it. It becomes public domain. There are private ChatGPT environments where you can ring fence whatever it is you're dealing with. So if you want to upload all the documents from your company but not make them available to all your competitors. So I was just wondering, when you did this analysis with your video, the transcripts of the videos of your client, were you doing it in a ring fenced environment or just the regular ChatGPT?
Yeah, so I do. It's a bit of both. It is a bit of both because they get the stuff I'm doing, like say like their brand voice and stuff. It's they get a few million hits. All of their brand voice is very much in the public domain already, so that side of it didn't really matter. I tend to use, to answer your question, Sophie, the paid version. So what is it? £20, 20 quid?
$20.
Yeah, $20.
Yeah.
It's well worth. It's just paying that money. It's not even a real consideration. When it gets to more sensitive data, yeah, that's where we just kind of look to more the private ring defense kind of thing. But it's this particular client, thankfully, they are so public about everything that it didn't really matter to them.
So Errol's just asked a question. Yes, Errol, just ChatGPT, nothing else. Joseph, you got a question?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
And by the way, thanks for putting this on. I don't have my filter on, so enjoy the background. So I've used the ChatGPT free version, the 4 as well, but I subscribed for, just to try it out cost purposes, for ChatGPT driven bots provided by third parties. Do you recommend doing that, or should we just pay the whole amount to ChatGPT?
Depends what you're getting out of it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So if you need a specific function doing, what is it that the bot that you're using? What's the function it provides?
Yeah, so it's got AI generators, browsing chat, upload and ask, YouTube and ask, summarize article, YouTube summary, link and ask, and summarize web, but it doesn't share my stuff with the public. And I'm just curious, what your thoughts on using a third-party tool.
How much is it, Joseph, just out of interest?
I pay, well, I'll put it into sterling, so about 40 to 50 sterling a year total.
Okay.
So it's a lot cheaper is the big thing.
Well, like at the start of AI, I've been doing it 6-7 months, and I found personally some limitations in it that irritate me, where it decides what it wants to tell me or not sometimes, where it's like, no, I'm not going to comment on that. Like, let's say political stuff and other things, which irritate me. Yeah.
A lot of that going on over there at the moment, isn't
there? Yeah. No, I was just wondering if anyone on the call would put in the chat if they use the original OpenAI version or third parties.
I'll give I'm only using ChatGPT at the moment. I'm not using any third-party tools. That said, £50 a year, I don't do anything that's so secretive that I wouldn't want it to be in the public domain anyway.
Yeah, I mean, so my favorite part of it is it does a good job on the AI generation for images. I love that.
Yeah.
But in terms of data analysis and data chugging, it seems to have issues.
Yeah, give Playground a go as well. Playground was a really good tool, and it's my favourite word. It's free. So
Just going back to Paul's point as well, there's two things there, one on data privacy and one on answers to questions being pulled from user-generated content. So ChatGPT a lot, and we had this issue where one of our staff wrote a piece of content and pulled a stat in from ChatGPT. The client queried the stat. Turned out that ChatGPT had auto-filled a stat with a public user-generated content that wasn't a real stat.
right.
So it does happen a lot. So whenever there are statistics or data you need to rely on from things in ChatGPT, you always have to clarify with things like, can you scan and cite source of this statistic? Because otherwise you will end up with like Paul said, someone's putting some random document somewhere and it said that this is an actual survey or this is a piece of data, and it's not. So it is a big problem. But if you say, can you scan the internet for the answer or for the statistics and provide me with the source of a regulated survey or whatever that is, then you will get an actual statistic.
So just on that, so a question I was going to ask earlier, and I completely forgot, but you just meant the internet then. Question from me to, well, everyone, but I'm going to start with Archie, seeing the right in front of me. There's a new, I'm saying I've not seen it before, within ChatGPT, within the prompt area, there's a new globe area, which is something to do with the search on the internet. Anybody use that or know what it is? Everyone's looking there.
No.
I noticed it about 5 minutes before this webinar and thought, oh, what's that? And I searched and it was something to do with an internet search, which I was doing anyway, but I put links in there, so I don't know how that's different. So I'll be playing around with that this afternoon.
You don't mean the search, the search icon?
No, give me 1 second. Just
because you can obviously now search in ChatGPT for phrases in previous chats and things.
I'll share my screen. Pam, I'm going to come to you in a second and see your hand up. Just find this. You see the screen, Archie? That's search web one at the bottom in the prompt.
I don't have that on mine.
Oh,
Phil, there was an announcement today that they've launched three of the I think Gemini did it as well. 3 of the foundational models launched search versions. So I think they're rolling it out, and you've got it. I don't have it in mine, but that announcement was this morning.
Right.
So that might be why that suddenly popped up, and that means we'll all be getting it soon.
Right.
I just pressed it because I had a prompt in my chat for the brand I've been talking about today, and I pressed the little searchy thing, and it came up with a brand and told me comprehensively what this brand is.
Amazing.
With link to it. So
that's it. End of Google now. Pam, sorry, what question have you got?
Well, it was a couple of things really. So I've come on here because I need to use AI more in my business, and it's just a bit. It's the typical thing of running a small business. It'll save me time, but I don't have time to start playing with it. So there's that typical thing. So that's one of the reasons why I was here. The second reason is that I run a VA business that about half it supports people with neurodiversity. And through the Access to Work scheme, they are throwing AI at neurodiverse people now. ChatGPT, they are paying for 3-year subscriptions because they want to send AI rather than put people into to sort of support that person. So anything around that, from a neurodiverse point of view, it's really interesting to see all this AI coming in through the award system, because they see it as obviously speeding up, but most commonly ChatGPT is brought in because from a divergent point of view, there's a real struggle to, if they get an email, to write the reply. It takes them too long. They really struggle with getting something off paper onto paper. So ChatGPT gives them a chance to stop something in ChatGPT. It starts them off and then pushes them forward to get that reply done, where it normally might take them 3 hours. They'll actually get a reply done in about 20 minutes. So from a productivity point of view, AI is really helping in that side. And I'm really interested in how we as a business can understand more about the AI that's available so that we can encourage our clients to be using this technology more and more. So it's really interesting when you put your slide up about creating posts and doing all that sort of stuff, because even the images, because that takes so long, doesn't it, when you're doing it yourself. So this has been really, really useful for me from that point of view, but also from how we're going to help our clients move forward, because I mean they're getting awarded all this stuff IT, but then you've got to help them use it.
Yeah.
So it's not just don't just give them something, teach them how to use it as well. So it's really useful what like Archie and Sophie and Charlie were saying about how they do stuff, because that is really helpful for my workers to get them to do that. So it was really interesting. So thank you so much for this.
No worries. Let me just share my screen again, because you just triggered something else that I forgot to show us in ChatGPT. And this is probably one thing that's going to help you as a relatively new ChatGPT user. So give me the top 10 ways to use ChatGPT within my business, and it will tell you the top 10 ways to actually use it. And then you can ask it to elaborate on each of those points and give some examples of how and where you can use it. So ChatGPT will tell you how to use it. It will tell you how to be a better ChatGPT user. You can ask it how to create bulletproof prompts for doing A, B, and C, whatever you might need to do. So the answers are all here. You just need to ask it the question in order to get the answers out. So yeah, answers are all there. Any other questions? Olga, if you're still on, I know you said you're having to go. I'll send an email out after this call, just with a recording the video and my contact details on there as well. Marla, Rubdown AI. Not sure about that one. I'm going to have to test that one in Google, see if Rubdown AI is a proper site I want to go to.
It's a publication that every morning you just subscribe. They have a free newsletter, and what they do is give you snapshots of what's new in AI. So like this morning, it did a quick rundown of what the new ChatGPT press and stuff like that. Cool. And then it also there's also on Rundown AI, they have a comparison. And I forget where it is, but if you search under the publication, it will do a comparison of all the AI models that are currently out in the market. Amazing. So for example, Copilot, the one that Microsoft did, what is Copilot good for or not? But to be honest, ChatGPT can pretty much do everything. So I don't even use it because Copilot sucks. So. Yeah.
See, I'm Google through and through. I use Google Meet, I use Google Workspace, my emails are powered by Google. I use G Drive for storing all the documents in there. But the one thing you've not swum me over yet on Google is using Gemini as opposed to ChatGPT. So yeah, I think that it just feels like Google, for such a big company, we're a little bit slow off the mark in creating Gemini, making it as well known as ChatGPT is. Okay, I think we've come to the end of questions. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. I hope it was useful. I will send out an email after this call, but if you've got any other questions, feel free to reach out to me via email or connect with me on LinkedIn.